Welcome back to Between Two White Coats, a podcast designed to help you be the healthiest version of yourself. I'm Dr. Michelle Plaster, a family medicine doctor.
And I'm her co-host, Amber Foster, a family nurse practitioner. In our combined 30 years in medicine, we've seen a lot.
We're discussing key issues surrounding health and wellness, answering some of our biggest questions, overcoming health obstacles, and giving patient-centered advice in hopes of educating you and providing the tools you need to live a healthy life.
If you find our podcast helpful, please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. This will help other people find our podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to serving you. Welcome back to Between Two White Coats. It is great to be with everybody. We appreciate you listening. And today we have a very special guest that we're super excited about. Alicia is a friend of ours, and she is a brilliant nurse practitioner. She has passion in so many areas that excite Amber and I, because I think if Alicia had one wish, it would be for people to live better, for people to live their best life, make good decisions, be as strong as possible. Yes. Alicia is a nurse practitioner. For 4 years, she's practiced as a nurse practitioner. She has her own health and wellness business called Radiate Health and Wellness. You can find her on Instagram and online, and she does amazing work helping people make good decisions to live their best lives. And Alicia has joined us here at our Family Health and our Wellness Center, helping people make healthy decisions and live their best life that way. I met Alicia in a yoga interview. Yes. We had posted for yoga instructors, and Alicia showed up, and I was like, wait a minute, you're a nurse practitioner? Okay, you can teach yoga, but you can join us and do so much more. Yes. So Alicia is a member of our team, and we are thrilled to have her. And today we are talking about strength through change. We are talking about really the importance of muscle and the perimenopause and menopause phase. Mm-hmm. Alicia, tell us why this is so important and why this is a topic that is near and dear to you.
So one of the funny things that I tell my personal patients is that I don't do anything to you that I haven't done to myself. And what I have found as I have gotten older, and I'm 46, I'll be 47 this year, and I'm going through all these changes as perimenopause starts to rear its head. And I have a vast background of knowledge in health and wellness in the medical field. But what about those people that don't?
Right.
Like, how hard is it to go through this transition without having the medical knowledge and the health knowledge that I have? And so as things are happening to me, I'm like, oh, let me help other people that are going through this because I'm going through it. I know what's helped me. And so that's kind of part of why I do what I do, is because I want to help people who are going through the same thing that I am, who may not understand it. And menopause is having a moment right now, and I am here for it.
Yes.
I am so glad.
And we are too.
Yeah.
Like we are praising God that menopause is having a moment.
Yes.
And I think menopause is having a moment because women have been asked to sit in the corner and be quiet about stuff that is life altering.
Absolutely.
And we need to talk about when we get to this point of our life that suddenly everything changes. And we're supposed to act like it hasn't. Come on.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. And I don't know about you all and people that are elderly in your life, but my own mom, who was my best friend, I lost her about 1.5 years ago, and she was elderly. She was frail. She fell. She had a hip injury. She ended up bedbound, and then she passed away. And she never talked about anything that could have helped in this. And before I have the knowledge, before when I didn't have this knowledge, I didn't know how to help her. And had I had this knowledge before about the importance of estrogen with bone loss and strength and all these things, then maybe it can help someone else to not go down that road. So as we get older in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, if we're strong, we are less likely to be frail.
Yes. Your mom was the generation where the horrible say that we like to say hang out. So when she would have been going through menopause, I'm assuming how old she was, but I would assume that she would have been in the age range of 47 to 50 restricted hormone sterility. And so then, the thing that could have been protective, she never had. Yeah. She was never given the opportunity because then people became so secure of it.
Yeah.
And what I know about the three of us is if you want to insult us, call us frail.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I was flexing earlier in the break room.
Like, you were showing us your biceps.
Yes.
And to that point, this is something that is when you and I were talking about doing this as a topic to share with people, this is something I am so passionate about because 9 months ago, I had a total hysterectomy, and
Which we were thankful for.
We were thankful for
that.
We needed that. We absolutely needed that. And as life works out, life is better without a uterus for me, as I suspected it was, as I looked at men and all of the challenges that they did not have. Right. So I'm not upset about the hysterectomy. However, as a doctor and a person who has ovarian cancer in my family, my wonderful OB-GYN, Dr. Jessie Bender, who listens to the podcast, love you, Jessie. If you ever need an OB-GYN, Jessie Bender is your woman. But Jessie was having a very honest conversation, and she was like, we leaving the ovaries? We not? And I was like, Jessie, you're taking the ovaries because I have ovarian cancer in my family. And let's face it, I was 52 when I had the hysterectomy. I was like, I'm not using those ovaries. They're pretty dried up. They're not doing much. Let's just take them. But I was perimenopausal, and removing the ovaries really changed my hormone levels even more. And I was actually taking hormone replacement therapy. I was on subtherapeutic doses, and we had to kind of adjust, and Amber worked with me, and we got all of that right. But because of the subtherapeutic doses, my muscle loss in the last 6 months is shocking and disturbing to me. I was an NCAA athlete. I served in the Army for 8 years. I have always been able to be strong. And just 2 weeks ago, I'm riding bikes with my 12-year-old and my husband. And I've always tried to be a little bit stronger than my husband, who was an NCAA football player and is a big guy. And I'm like keeping up, and I couldn't. Like, I felt so weak trying to ride into the wind up a hill. And I was like, I can't believe I can't do this. And 6 months ago, I could have done that with no issues whatsoever. The effect that this had, like, I have fallen off a cliff, and that was with some hormones. Yeah. So imagine what's happening to women who aren't undergoing HRT and the massive drop off of muscle. So if we just look at what happens in people's bodies, in your teens and 20s, you're building bone mass and you're building muscle mass. By mid-20s, the building of bone and muscle mass is pretty much stopping, and there's this gradual decline. It is a very gradual decline through your 20s, through your 30s. In your 40s, it's getting a little steeper. By mid-40s and then moving into 50s for women, when estrogen and testosterone are leaving the building, testosterone is leaving the building in our 30s, and it's dropping off slowly and slowly. So testosterone's often gone before you start having the hot flashes, and testosterone is important for muscle mass. But then when estrogen leaves the building, your bone and your muscle drop off abruptly. And so when you are perimenopausal, you have to work to not lose your muscle. Yeah. If you just let nature take its course, the result is frail. The result is osteoporosis, low muscle mass, weak, can't get on the floor to play with your grandkids, can't get back up. You are just weak. And we are in a country where already we are not only over fat, we are under muscle. So our 20-year-olds don't have the muscle that we had 20, 30 years ago. Right. Our kids are sedentary. They're playing games in their downstairs basements, not outside in their driveways. And so we're taking an under muscle society, and then we're throwing menopause on that. We're in trouble. Yeah. We are in big trouble. And if we don't address this, and if we don't take action, and if people who are in their midlife don't realize they need to do things different, they're going to have a really bad awakening when they're really weak. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that that's so important. When we do our body composition scans here, one of the things that we talk about is that young normal, and we put a person's lean mass kind of up against 120 to 29-year-olds that are the same height, weight, things like that. And we want them to have more lean mass than 50% of those 20 to 29-year-olds, which at first somebody that's in their 50s might be like, how can I have more lean mass than, and I'm like, but this is the United States. It's not a big ask because our population has gotten larger and less healthy. And so being, stronger or having more lean mass than 50% of them is an attainable goal if you put the work in. Yes. But it's a mindset shift because we have grown up thinking we need to be thin, we need to do cardio, we need to be on the elliptical. No, you need to lift heavy things, put them down, and then pick them back up. Skinny fat, exactly. Yes. It is. And that's less metabolically healthy sometimes than someone who's considered obese. Yes. And when you say metabolically healthy, doing cardiovascular conditioning is what we have always promoted as if you can run, if you walk, and all of these things are good and they matter for your heart and you should absolutely do them. You should not do them all by themselves in a bubble. Right. They are part of an exercise program.
Yeah.
But really, having skeletal muscle mass is metabolically healthy. Having skeletal muscle mass is actually going to help your metabolism more over time than doing the running and the elliptical. And so it's an important combo that, most of the time we're like, I'm going to go work out. I've done this my whole life. I'm going to go work out. I get on the treadmill for an hour. At any time when I had to do PT testing in the Army, I could get in shape in 2 weeks because that's what I would do is get out of shape and then get back in it and then get out of shape because, I'm a doctor. I don't practice what I preach. So I was like, I got a PT test coming up. And I just start running. And you had to do push-ups and sit-ups, but I could sustain enough of those. And I was kind of an old doctor, so I didn't have to do as many of those. So it was like, okay, I can get ready for this. I would not be able to do that now. In my 50s, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. One of the things that I offer my clients through the program Faster Way to Fat Loss, which I'm a coach for, is the exercise regimen that's science-backed and based. And what we do there is 2 days of HIIT, 3 days of strength training, and 2 days of active recovery. So it's a mix of everything because everything is important. There's a place for that cardiovascular exercise. There's more of a place, especially as we get older, for strength training. And then we need those rest days to help our muscle build because the muscle comes in the recovery. And so all of the things are important. So that's, trying to just teach people that they need to do more than just be on the elliptical.
Yeah. Okay, so you have got my attention, and trying to ride a bike into the wind uphill has got my attention.
Yes.
What do I need to be doing?
So we need to be strength training at least 2 to 4 days a week. And that is not, I hate to say not with the little pink weights, but not with the little pink weights.
I know, they make them pink to
They
insult
do.
us.
I knew.
Well, I think they're cute.
They are.
They look cute.
And as my 12-year-old son would say, pink is not a girl color.
Yeah.
Like, pink can be for anyone. So
If you want to use the pink weights, hold them while you're walking. While you're doing your walk. Add a little bit of extra weight to your walks with weights or with a weighted vest, things like that. But when it comes
strength training.
No, strength
That's
training.
more resistance, truly. The cute little pink weight.
yeah.
Right.
So
When
tell me what my strength training should look like.
So our strength training needs to be working both our small muscle groups and our large muscle groups 2 to 4 times a week. And that includes squats, push-ups, lunges, chest press, things like that. And if you're just starting out as a beginner, you don't have to add the weights. The weights can come later. So if you're, new to strength training, then I'll tell people 2 days a week, go on YouTube, find a body weight strength training video and start with just doing squats or just doing lunges, push-ups against the wall. There are ways that we can make it more foundational for people who are just beginning. But for those people who have been doing exercise and they're a little bit, they know their way around the gym a little bit more, then we need to be lifting heavy weights to the point of you've done 8, you're close to being ready to give up. Like you're working towards failure.
Well, and for those that are starting, I always tell people, it should hurt, but it shouldn't be painful. Like, I think sometimes, especially if you have someone that's super sedentary and then they're like, okay, now I'm perimenopause, I'm worried about, losing muscle mass. And then they're going in trying to, deadlift 95 pounds. That's not feasible for them. And they're going to be in pain. You feel like it, or they're going to injure themselves. And so, like you said, body weights is a great way to start, but it should also be you should be sore. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, this is easy. Like you just took a trip around Target or Walmart. Right.
Yeah, I think that you're hitting some goals if you are working to fatigue in your exercise. So, you can hold a plank until fatigue, where you go, I can't hold it anymore.
Yeah.
And then you can rest, and then you can do that again until fatigue. You can do push-ups to where you're like, I can do 5, and now I'm quivering and I can't do it. And then you'll work up to where 5 becomes 8 and 8, and then you quiver at 12. But when your muscle is fatiguing, then you've pushed it. And then when you're sore the next day, you know that you've done something to your muscles. So I think if you do some kind of workout that you're proud of and the next day you feel just like before you did your workout, you probably haven't pushed yourself quite far enough. You're probably not building muscle.
Right. And we also do something called progressive overload, which is like every 2 to 3 weeks, you either increase the weight or you increase the number of reps that you're doing. So you're constantly improving that. We don't stay at this. Yeah, you're doing great. You're working out, you're lifting weights. But if you stay with the same weights for 6 months and you're doing the same routine, then you're really not building muscle. You're getting some movement in, which is always a good thing, but we need to be striving for that overload so we can continue to lift heavier or increase our reps.
Right, because then you're getting stronger.
Yes.
Muscle building too, I had to understand the muscle is supposed to tear a little. That's what causes it to build stronger. So that recovery, that's why you need the recovery time. So I think when I explain that to patients often, and I also do it with like nutritional stuff, like how sugar is absorbed and what your muscles are using, and protein, is that the muscles actually have to tear to then repair themselves to get bigger, to get stronger. And so that's why I always am like, you should feel sore. So it should be tearing.
And skeletal muscle is having a moment. Like, this is something that, much like nutrition, we don't talk about in med school. We don't consider it an organ. We just go, well, the purpose of skeletal muscle is to make your bones move. Skeletal muscle is having a moment, and I think thanks to people like Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who has a new book out and has her own podcast and is really everywhere now, and she says skeletal muscle is the organ of longevity. This is how we are going to live long and prosper, is skeletal muscle. And so I think a lot of women go, well, I don't want big, massive muscles. I don't want to look like those bodybuilders. You won't. You can try.
You have to work really hard to look like those
and
women.
you won't. Like, yes. And probably make it your full-time job.
Yes.
If you work out 4 times a week, if you go on the higher end of weights and the higher frequency of doing it, you are not going to look like a bodybuilder. So you can take that one off the table. It's not going to happen.
When you tone up, like I tell us all the time, like, hey, pants, I have a picture that my friends and I laugh at because I actually weigh less now than I did in that picture. But I am much more toned, so I look thinner. Yeah. But and then I like chubby cheeks and this other one. I'll have to find it for you. It's pretty funny. But like I'm thinner now than I look thinner, but I weigh more.
Right. And that's when women say that they want to tone up. Like, if you're going to tone up, then you need to lift heavy weights.
And that's what you do. You're making yourself strong. And people love to say muscle weighs less than fat. And I always kind of internally laugh. I get what they're saying, but a pound of muscle weighs a pound and a pound of fat weighs a pound. It's a pound. But muscle looks like it weighs less than fat.
Muscle looks
and so this is where we get all obsessed about our weight, and we should not. We should be much more talking about what we're made up of. This is where the body composition scans are so valuable.
Yes.
I don't care how much you weigh. I don't care what your BMI is. It's one of our vital signs.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to know what you're made up of.
I'm like, step away from the scale.
Yes.
We don't need to be on it every day or every week. I'll tell my patients, don't get on the scale but once a month and focus more on strength.
Yes.
And the weight will do what it needs to do. But we need to move that mindset of I need to lose weight to I need to be strong.
Yes. The most successful thing I did last year is gain 5 pounds because I did a body comp and I was like, wow, my lean mass is not what it needs to be. And so I started doing a lot of things we're about to talk about, and I gained 5 pounds of muscle mass. And I got on the body comp again, and I was like, this is exactly what I was trying to do. I'm going to stay on this. And it was a 5-pound weight gain. Now, most of the time as women in America, we'd be freaking out about a weight gain.
Yeah.
But it matters what it's made up of. And so building muscle is everything. And let me just tell you, the odds of us in a perimenopause and menopause state of building muscle is pretty slim. What we're trying to do is not lose the muscle that we've had in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so you have to work hard to not lose muscle, to not become frail. And probably with all your hard work, you're going to be able to sustain and build some. But you have to work hard to build because you're working against a loss. The natural thing is that you're falling off the cliff and it's a muscle loss. So I am going to, and you guys are going to be my accountability partners, and I will follow up somewhere on social media to confirm that I did this. I am going to exercise. Now, I'm going to be realistic with myself. Whenever I ask people to action plan, I say, are you 80% sure you're going to do it? My greatest commodity in life is time. And so I am going to commit to 3. I heard 2 to 4, and I feel like 3 is not taking the lowest end of that, but I probably won't hit 4, and I don't want to set myself up for failure.
Yeah.
So 3 days a week, progressively lifting heavier weights. I might start with just body and doing body workouts, making sure that I'm fatigued after, I'm sore that day, the next day. My legs quiver when I'm walking up the stairs after this exercise. And then I'm going to progress it. And about how long should I be? Like, do I want to do legs one day, arms the next? Do I want to do a full body to try to get everything in 3 times? What would you recommend?
So it really depends on the person and the time that they have available. So not everybody has the time to get ready, drive to the gym, work out for an hour, then get back home. And we have to deal with kids and food and homework and dinner and basketball and all the things. So if you have the time to even get 10 minutes in, I'll tell my patients, then we find a 10-minute workout. We start there and we work with that. If you only are working out 2 days a week, you would want to do upper body one day, then lower body the next day. If you have a 3-day work week or 3-day workout week, then you could do a split where you do, say, upper body, chest, and back one day. You could do arms, biceps, triceps one day, and then you could do lower body on the 3rd day. Or we can use those compound movements where we work multiple muscle groups at the same time for a really efficient workout. And, you could do that a couple of days a week. But when it comes to building muscle and building strength, we have to be careful with the compound workouts because we want to really focus on lifting heavy. And that can be difficult to do when we're doing more of the compound movements. So it really just depends on kind of where you're starting and what your goals are, which is another reason why the body comps are really, really great. Because if somebody already has a good amount of muscle, but they are still overweight, then that just kind of helps us to make a plan more specific to them versus somebody who's coming in with like hardly any muscle at all.
Got it. Okay, what else do we need to do outside of lift heavy weights and get off of the I'm just going to get on the treadmill, but actually get into building muscle? What else do we need to do to be strong in peri and postmenopause?
Eat protein like it's your second job.
Yes. And it is a job.
It is. And that protein, because we don't utilize it as well in our bodies as we get older. So we have to have even more protein to make up for the losses. And so eating protein, making sure that protein is coming from good quality sources, that's really important when it comes to building the muscle. Taking supplements can help as well.
We're going to do an entire episode on protein. And so stay tuned for that because there's a lot to that. But it is crucial. Protein's a building block for muscle. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how hard you're working to build something. If you don't have what's in the recipe, you can't make the recipe.
Right.
And so you got to have protein on board.
It's like the 3 little pigs. When you build your house out of straw, it's going to get blown down. So it's
right.
We're eating processed foods all the time and we're not getting our protein, then we're not going to be able to have a very strong body.
Because you can't have a frail house.
No, you can't. You got to have a brick house.
This word frail is going to give me nightmares.
Yes. So having your diet needs to be mostly non-processed foods, whole foods, and high in protein.
High in protein. Talk to us about supplements.
So one of the supplements that's kind of having a moment right now is creatine. So that's a really helpful one for building muscle and also may help with kind of cognitive function. So that's a great one. Always protein. Amino acids, BCAAs, those are all important.
BCAAs are branched chain amino acids. These specifically leucine is huge for building muscle. And so you've got to make sure you're getting leucine in. If you're not going to take it in a branched chain amino acid supplement, then you need to get it in food. It is mostly in red meats, steak, pork, tuna. These are all places that you'll get leucine, but leucine is an essential amino acid. You have to get it through your diet. You can't build muscle without it. And so I take BCAA from Pure Encapsulated every day, and that's how I make sure I get it because I'm not great about stopping work and eating.
Right. And we have a lot of really good options here that the staff knows about and that are available to patients. And I think that's really great to give that option to people who are already here. Another really important piece of building muscle is sleep and rest. And that is another thing that in midlife becomes really difficult. I protect my sleep. Like you can ask any of my kids, what does mom want for her birthday, Christmas, Valentine's Day? Let her sleep.
Yeah.
And so I go to bed at 9:00. I wake up at 5 a.m. That's what I do. And so our bodies are recovering and building during that time. And if we're not rested, our bodies are inflammatory. We make it is scientifically proven. We make poor food choices when we don't sleep well. If I don't sleep well, first thing I'm doing is going to Hardee's and getting a gravy biscuit because I need some comfort in my life.
And endocrine cravings.
Yes, absolutely.
Things happen with your hormones and you crave different things.
Yeah. The better that we rest and sleep, the better choices that physiologically we can make.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, Josh is like,
all the mean.
I'm like, I'd love to. Thanks.
Yes.
As I march myself in there. So you're just.
I slam the door and I get my nap.
But like you do, you make poor choices. Your attitude, then you're less likely to want to go work out because then you feel bad because you're meeting a family that you actually love. And you're tired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sleep is huge. And to think that it builds muscle, you need that recovery time. And as you said, you need recovery in between your workouts because you're breaking the muscle down and you're letting it rebuild. So you need the ingredients for it to rebuild, which is the protein, the creatine, the branched chain amino acids. You need the time for it to rebuild, and it does that really well in your non-REM sleep phases. And you need to exercise so that it is building. What else? Anything else that we just need to get busy on to make sure we're staying strong?
So routine is really important. And that's one of the things that I coach my clients to do is Mondays and Tuesdays, we do HIIT. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, we do muscles. On Friday and Sunday, we do active recovery. And we have that routine. We have a routine with our eating, with our nutrition cycle, with intermittent fasting, everything. It can be a little regimented, but for some people, that's what it needs to be. And especially while we're learning these principles, we got to have that routine and that structure.
It matters because, like, I tell patients, like, look at your week and decide what you can do. When I'm first starting with patients, I have like, absolutely, we are blessed to have the knowledge because we went to school and we know that, but like the average person has no idea. So I'm like, tell me what you can give me and schedule like you would not miss the appointment with me. Right. Because you are important and you need to schedule that time for yourself to be able to make good, healthy choices. And so that's a great thing is like, hey, write it down, like put it on your planner. Yeah. Or in your phone and whatever.
And we've talked about the importance of self-care, and you can't make yourself come last.
Yeah. And then in that routine where we talk about active recovery, one of the reasons that I stress so much that yoga, flexibility, mobility is important is because as we get older, we are very likely as women, 1 in 2 of us is going to fall and we're going to break something. And so there's studies now that show increased muscle mass leads to increased longevity. And one of the reasons that it does that is because we're less likely to fall. We're less prone to fracture. But being able to just get up off the ground if you fall down, that's something that people don't think about when they're young, but you sure think about it when you start to get older.
And I think part of this healthy aging and building muscle is flexibility and balance. Yeah. And so I'm adding yoga as part of my exercise program. I know you're a certified yoga instructor. Would you recommend that I do yoga on the off day? So if I'm lifting heavy weights, and then could I do yoga on the next day? Is that going to interfere with my active recovery, or that would be good?
No, so yoga is your active recovery.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Depending on the kind of yoga you do. There's a yoga out there for everybody. I say everybody needs yoga, but there are a lot of different options. But finding a yoga program like the class that I teach is more mobility based. Flexibility is a part of it, but we're not sitting in there taking 5 deep breaths and holding poses for like really long times. We're working on moving our bodies in all different planes, standing on one leg, making sure that we can get up off of our knees, things like that.
So important.
It is. And so that active recovery, Pilates is great active recovery. Walking is one of the most underrated things that we can do. If you can walk outside, double points for you because you're getting sunshine and fresh air. If you can walk outside in the sun after your meals for 10 minutes, then bingo, you have won the day. Yeah. And so walking is really important, and that can also be active recovery.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah.
Any other last minute pieces of what I should be doing, and you're going to hold me accountable to?
Yes. So one of the things I like to stress to my clients is it's not an either or. So same with some of the weight loss injections, like it's not weight loss injection or diet and exercise. Right. It's not hormone replacement therapy or lifestyle. These things work together. Yeah. And so when we are exercising, it can also help our hormones to optimize as much as possible. And some people can't use HRT for whatever reason, or some people just don't want to go that route. And so by giving them these lifestyle tools like anti-inflammatory nutrition, making sure that we're strength training, resting, stress management, these all help with that hormone balance as much as it can. So when we're going through this change, we can be strong, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the things.
So I hope that this gets everyone's attention, no matter what age you are, no matter what gender you are, that you have to go into your older years with muscle mass. At any age, you should be building muscle. You should be lifting heavy things. But as we get to peri and post menopause, there is no choice. It will all result in frail if you're not doing something about it. And so I'm super motivated. I promise you, next time I'm riding bikes with my son, I'm going to pass him and make him feel like the old woman is faster. Yes. And I'm going to get busy. I just have to get busy. I have to prioritize this because for healthy aging, it is super, super important.
Yeah. And we are outliving our ovaries much more than ever before.
Yes, well said.
And so we have this last third or more of our lives to work with, and we want to make it enjoyable and fun. And when we do have grandkids, not for a long time, I want to be able to play with them. My kids joke that I'm going to outlive them, which no one wants to, but the joke of that is they see me putting in the work every day to be healthy, because I don't ever want them to go through what I went through with losing my mom when she was, she could have had so many more years left.
Yes.
So we need to stay healthy for ourselves, but also for our families.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you so much. We like to leave you on a good note. Here's today's Tell Me Something Good. Something good is kindness. Kindness truly can change the world. It can make a difference in big and little ways. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, take care of yourself.